Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Commodity TV. And we are still in Zurich, Denver Gold Forum, but now we are at the Osisko Group Dinner. And it's my honor and pleasure to talk, long time. It was to Bob Wares, the CEO of Osisko Metals. Welcome, Bob, again.
Great to see you. Great to be here.
Yeah, thanks for taking the time. I think it was like easily 2 years ago. We talked the last time, and a lot of good things happened, of course. I mean, the market was not so easy, but I think it's a great idea that you have worked on the one hand on the Pine Point Zinc Project, but you added a copper project.
Exactly.
And let's start with copper, because I think copper is really hot. With the Gaspé Copper Project, what's going on there?
Well, it's an acquisition that we completed with Glencore last summer after a year of due diligence, and including a fair amount of drilling. And we concluded there was a potential for a very significant open pit copper resource. Mm-hmm. So we completed the acquisition last summer, did 8,000 more meters drilling, another 8,000 to come this year. Mm-hmm. And we're firming up what we believe is a very significant resource. Mm-hmm. It's a tier 2 asset, but it'll be in the order of 1.5 million tons of copper metal in pit in the ground.
Okay, so it will be open pit.
Absolutely, mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. So it's very exciting. It's obviously an extremely safe jurisdiction. It's in our backyard. We already moving towards environmental baseline studies as we speak, permitting to dewater the pit. We're moving as quickly as we can. We are essentially right now on a 5-year timeline to get to FID. Mm-hmm. We've been assigned both federal and provincial teams to start the permitting process. We're in the middle of our PEA, which I'm hoping to release this time next year. Mm-hmm. And after which, I'm confident we can move directly to feasibility, which will take another 2 years. Mm-hmm. So obviously, to accelerate these things, you have to work the environmental permitting routine, as always, in parallel with your feasibility. Yeah. So it's a clear-cut path. We know exactly what we have to do, and essentially zero jurisdictional risk, which unfortunately right now is plaguing many other copper projects worldwide.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm also a total copper bull for sure. Yeah, my next target is $5.50 per pound.
Oh, you got me beat.
Yeah, and I think afterwards 6 to 7 is in the play within the next, let's say, 3 to 4 years.
Yes, I think
because
so.
The shortage is there. That's also for sure. So your project, as you said, in a fantastic jurisdiction, zero risk. Yeah, that is great. Of course, we do not have yet, let's say, the details of feasibility study. But can you give our viewers just an idea what could that be of a size of a project?
Oh, absolutely.
Meaning per annum production.
Yeah. So we're looking at a resource that'll be between ultimately 450 to 500,000 tons a day. But our mine plan is going to be based on, million tons. Our mine plan is going to be based on a starter pit, if you like, or a smaller pit of about 400 million tons. Mm-hmm. At 55 tons a day, that buys us
55,000 tons a day.
Yes, yep. That's essentially a 23-year mine life.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and what would that mean production-wise? How many tons?
Production-wise, you'd be looking at 150 to 170,000 tons a day of a year of concentrate.
Concentrate, okay,
yeah.
Nice.
And now we signed. Part of the condition with the sale of Glencore was to they get 100% of the offtake. Mm-hmm. The copper offtake has been signed, and the terms have been agreed to. They're essentially fairly standard. Mm-hmm. Commercial terms, we did play with upside on the price of copper in order to reduce freight parity. So that worked in our favor, I believe. Mm-hmm. I essentially needed a project that was viable around, between $4.20 and $5 copper. Mm-hmm. So we succeeded in negotiating that. Later on this year, we'll probably settle on the molybdenum offtake, because now, as a result of our latest metallurgical testing, which, by the way, we'll release next week, testing is very good recoveries, excellent composition, concentrates, no deleterious elements to speak of on the copper con. We know we will be producing a molybdenite con. So now we're in a position to sign an offtake agreement for the molybdenum.
So that would be another nice add-on.
It will be. It's, right now, I'm estimating it'll bring in 15% of total revenue. A bit of a silver credit, maybe 3-4%. So there'll definitely be silver and moly credits. Unfortunately, no gold. We ended up with 1 gram of gold in the concentrate, and Glencore gets the first gram anyway. So,
Okay.
so
I see. Okay,
yeah.
let's give them a little bit. I'm a Glencore shareholder, so I'm happy. Great. Okay, so that looks all great. I think that's a very clear path, I would say,
Yes.
for the Gaspé project. Let's come to Pine Point with zinc. I think you got Appian into that.
Yeah,
with
so we brought in
25
Appian as after a lot of due diligence. Appian elected to JV on the project, so they're acquiring a 65% interest. The initial deal was for 60. Recently, I sold them an extra 5% in order to avoid a very dilutive financing for Gaspé Copper. So that brought in. Ultimately, it'll bring in 8.5. 6.6 was payable upfront. And that basically allows me to finance Gaspé Copper over the next year. The objective longer term for Gaspé Copper is to get the PEA out and then bring in a partner, as we did for Pine Point, but not a majority partner. We would maintain control of this case in order to respect the agreement we have with Glencore. So Pine Point, we were free to do what we wanted. So we will retain a minority interest at 35% after a $100 million expenditure. So we are free carried to FID at the case of Pine Point. And this is on a 4-year timeline. Once we're at FID at Pine Point, obviously Appian will have control, and they'll decide whether we go ahead with production or sell the assets.
So they have to,
call.
okay, they can decide, you cannot.
Yes, that's right.
Because that would be my next question. Do you want to bring both into production?
Well, it's a tall order. It's Gaspé Copper we're committed to bring into production, but ultimately, it'll be Appian's call.
Okay, so. Good. Perfect. How does it look with money in the bank? Because you still have to do some work, of course.
Well, as I mentioned, we're fully financed to the PEA next year, and with all the extra work we're doing this year. We have about, right now, an $8.5 million budget this year, so we don't need to finance. We might do a small friends and family flow through in the fall, but again, it's not necessary. Part of the drill program this year will be focused on new exploration on the Needle Mountain deposit. What was originally called the A Zone, but there hasn't been a drill hole Needle Mountain since the early 60s. So we'll call it some of the museum grade database suggests that there's potential for maybe 50 million tons of high grade at Needle Mountain, and which will also be part of an excellent starter pit. Doesn't need to be dewatered. So we're going to drill it this summer as part of new exploration, see if we can define higher grade open pit material, which would go into a starter pit. So key to this operation is really to bring the first 5 years of production above 0.5, 0.6 copper equivalent. And between the high grade zone that's immediately below the existing Copper Mountain pit, and with any luck at Needle Mountain, we'll have our 5 years. And that will allow us to improve the IRR above 25% after tax, which is really what you need these days to finance a base metal project, especially a bulk tonnage one.
Okay, super. So important, what is your view, as you said, base metal? What is your personal view on, let's say, copper, zinc, all those base metal things?
We are headed for a brick wall. We're, I think, headed for serious deficits, especially in Western economies. And it's not going to be pretty because the energy transition requires huge increases in metal production. It's not happening. It's not going to happen for at least another 5 years. And the EV market is drying up a bit. I think it's going to reach a stable growth, far less than what had been anticipated, but it's still going to impose an increased demand, especially in copper, because there's twice as much copper in electric vehicles.
Yeah, plus solar and all those kind of
plus
things.
Plus solar, plus
wind.
You name it, wind. They all consume copper.
Yeah.
Not including the networks that's required to distribute the energy. So all that is pointing to significant copper demand in coming years. That's backed up by numbers from S&P Global and Woodmac, and both are predicting a deficit starting next year.
Absolutely.
And it's interesting because since the Industrial Revolution, the Western world at least has never run out of metals, and I think it's going to happen. And I really don't know how the economy is going to deal with it.
Higher prices.
Yes, but that doesn't solve the problem. Even if copper goes to $8 this year, you still have to go through the whole process of permitting, which now it's become arduous in most countries, complex. And ignoring jurisdictional risk, it takes most countries 10 years to get a mining permit. So you can't, there are very few workarounds that unless the politicians, issue an executive order. Even in the United States, there are undeveloped world-class copper deposits that just making no progress because they're bogged down in litigation and so on. And so something's going to have to be done in order to accelerate permitting process, especially in Western economies.
Yeah, absolutely.
A lot of undeveloped copper deposits in Eastern Europe.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
But would you go to Romania?
Not so easy these days.
Not so easy.
We saw some experiences here.
It's again, jurisdictional risk. Look at what happened to Rio Tinto with the Jadar lithium deposit in Serbia. Who wants to go and invest in Serbia right now? So,
that's done.
So it's a big problem, and it's going to lead short term and medium term to metal deficits. There's no doubt about it.
Absolutely, and maybe after the election in the US, we see a different president, which says, "Okay, full speed mining."
Yeah, I can see Trump doing that. Yeah, exactly.
We will see. We don't know.
We will see.
Perfect. Okay, super. So I would say you guys are on the right track. You have copper, you have zinc, and the copper project looks fantastic. So I would say please keep us posted and please get it done because the world needs your copper.
We need the copper.
Definitely.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Right, cheers.
Thank you. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, that was Bob Wares from Osisko Metals, the CEO. And you heard it. The Gaspé Copper Project is really fantastic. It looks really great, and they are really going full throttle. Permitting, EIA, etc. This is all running. Of course, it takes time. That's also for sure. But I think perfect jurisdiction. Right project, and in addition they still have the Pine Point Zinc Project where Appian has now the lead, but also here's something which is very, very positive. Check out the company. Thanks for watching us, and bye-bye from Zurich.